Right, valuations for AI companies like OpenAI are sky high. But even CEO Sam Altman has suggested we're in a bubble. Joining us now to talk all things tech and AI is Stephen Levy, Wired editor at large. Stephen, great to have you on with us. Good to see you. Just recap what I'm referring to there for viewers that didn't see it. This is just as they're kind of closing a big private market funding deal, which confirms the sky high valuations for the sector. Sam Altman is seen saying that actually he thinks there's a bit of a bubble-like set of valuations for the sector.
Yeah, well, he might say there's a bubble, but he's still jacking up the valuation of OpenAI up to $500 billion. Is it now? Is what they're saying? So I think that all of these companies are in this upward spiral. No one can stop this train because it costs a lot of money to run these businesses, a lot of computation, data, talent, and everyone knows, it's the locked-in wisdom that this is the sector. This is going to take the whole tech world and the world itself up higher and higher and higher. No one's bailing on AI. So there will be a reckoning because not all these companies can justify this, even in the long term, with the revenues that justify the valuations and catch up. But right now, the ride just keeps going on.
If we are in an AI-related bubble, Stephen, and it were to pop or at least correct meaningfully, do you think, and I acknowledge it's an odd question to ask when we think of the trillions of dollars of market cap of publicly listed tech companies linked to AI, but do you think the pain would be more pronounced in private markets, that it would affect some of the private investors drawn into some of these companies more than it would public market investors?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, the bigger companies, they're making their bets on AI. That's where a lot of their capital expenditures are going. But they are fully developed businesses, whereas the valuations come really from the desire of investors to get on big time into AI. So they are, the private companies are much more vulnerable because these valuations come out of strictly the desire of investors to get in on it and hope that the company they're putting money into is going to be the next OpenAI.
How much of the kind of sentiment shift would you ascribe to that McKinsey report showing very little in the way or nothing in terms of ROI for companies utilizing AI right now? And how does that kind of filter into the question surrounding just the fundamental base case for AI at this point in time?
Yeah, that's where the reckoning comes in. It's going to take a while for the genuine advances in AI. It's an amazing technology to actually filter, translate into dollars, into dollars spent by, everyone. Right now, you go on Google, you go on Meta, and it says, hey, AI wants to answer this. But you're not paying extra money for that. They're counting that eventually you're going to have like an AI bill, like an electricity bill or whatever, and you will say, I'm paying for it, I'm getting great value, and then you start to see the money come in that justifies those valuations. It's going to take a while, and that report shows like previous big advances. I remember in the PC era, there was this paradox of productivity that people pointed to. Well, no one's saying that computers aren't worth the money, and these companies now, look at Microsoft, stuck it out, and they're have a fantastic productivity business. It will take years, maybe even the better part of a decade, for this stuff to translate to dollars from consumers.
Stephen, I'm curious what you think the take in the Valley is over the stake that the U.S. government took in Intel, and whether you think CEOs say to themselves, that's fabulous, or they say that's terrible, they're coming for me next?
I think more the latter. They have gone all in, some not very happily, with Trump, but Trump isn't satisfied with the deal he makes in Mar-a-Lago or the White House on a given day. He's going to come back and ask for more. We've already seen that he's very eager to run the businesses, the biggest businesses of America. He thinks he knows more than they do. So you look at the Intel bill, and he's bragging, we got it for nothing. And you could argue that's true because, as you said up top, this was money that Congress already granted. The previous president signed off. They were going to get anyway. They have a contract to do this classified work. They're going to do that work anyway, but now essentially for free. I guess, I wonder if the shareholders might have something to say about that. But what happens now when the government's the biggest shareholder in Intel? AMD can't be happy about that. So maybe, Trump will say, well, you give me 10% too. And then what kind of country we have? The government's got, a piece of every company.